Now, every new MP thinks hard about their first speech in the House of Commons. It's a chance to praise the constituency and raise some issues that are close to their heart. But there's a convention that, on the whole, they're pretty uncontroversial. Well, occasionally, that convention is ignored. That's what the Conservative MP Heidi Allen chose to do when she devoted her maiden speech in October to a political hot potato: her own government's plans to cut tax credits. Let's take a look.
The Prime Minister has asked us that everything we do must pass the family test. Cutting tax credits before wages rise does not achieve that. Showing children that their parents will be better off not working at all does not achieve that. Sending a message to the poorest and most vulnerable in our society that we do not care does not achieve that either. Madam Deputy Speaker, I believe the pace of these reforms is too hard and too fast. As these proposals stand, too many people will be adversely affected. Something must give. For those of us proud enough to call ourselves compassionate Conservatives, it must not be the backs of the working families we purport to serve.
So that was Heidi Allen speaking out against tax credit cuts in October, cuts that were later dropped by the Chancellor under pressure from her and other Conservative MPs, and following a defeat in the House of Lords. Well, Heidi Allen joins me now for her first national TV interview since that maiden speech. Welcome to the programme. How did it feel to go from being a little-known backbencher to a very rebellious one in the matter of one speech?
Well, the word rebellious does make me smile. You stand up in the House of Commons once and say something that's not expected, and suddenly you're a rebel. I didn't think it was that easy. I didn't expect it to have the impact it did. Absolutely not.
You didn't?
No, not at all.
Was that naivety?
Probably. But it wasn't until my husband picked me up from the station that evening and said, "Heidi, have you seen the evening news?" And no, I hadn't. And then I realised the kind of momentum it was gathering.
Because you were the headlines everywhere, were
yes,
you?
pretty much.
How did your fellow MPs react?
Brilliantly. Yeah, absolutely brilliantly. From the old wise, old sages to new members of Parliament, quietly in the corridors and writing letters to me, but sort of saying, "Heidi, well done, you said the things we wanted to but didn't dare."
Really? You
yes.
weren't cold-shouldered then in the tea rooms?
Not at all. Not
really?
at all.
I mean, did George Osborne speak to you afterwards?
No, but to be fair, that the big Secretaries of State aren't typically hanging around the Commons anyway, so we don't routinely bump into each other.
Hasn't told you off since?
No.
Right. I mean, you voted for the tax credit cuts when they first came before Parliament, so what changed?
My not understanding the detail, the fact that, we knew that, and I didn't disagree that welfare needed reform, I still believe that, but the detail about the how and the timing was not clear. And I'm on the Work and Pensions Select Committee also, and we were doing a lot of work into the research, and it just became clear to me that the detail just didn't stack up.
Right. I mean, do you think most MPs didn't understand the changes and then did, or stuck to their guns in terms of your colleagues?
I think everybody started to understand the changes, but it's just whether they were content with that or brave enough to say, actually, we don't agree.
I mean, you stood on a manifesto for £12 billion of savings to welfare, so where would you make them?
Well, we still can make them, and that's the point. But it's the pace of change, it's how hard and how fast, and that was the part that I couldn't accept. And, we're fortunate now that George Osborne has managed to find better tax receipts, and we can take the cuts altogether.
Well, he hopes, of course, that's forecast,
yes,
isn't it? So
this is tricky.
You know that the Institute for Fiscal Studies has said that actually there will still be many, many losers. It will be further down the line. In fact, it could be a more difficult time for the Conservatives in the run-up to the next election. So are you now against universal credit, which will be, in fact, where those losers will have their money cut from?
No, not at all, because universal credit, we're a way off from delivering it across the country, but it will, the olden days of people earning an extra hour's wage and suddenly all the benefits being taken, that is smoothed out in universal credit. And crucially, it gives people longer to prepare. That was the bit that I couldn't swallow, sorry, next April, gone. Right. No time to adjust your life at all.
Right, but they will still lose the money. So, yes, there will be a transition period for some people, and there will be a chance for higher wages for some people to have increased. But the cold, hard reality, according to the IFS, is that people could still lose over £1,000. That'll still be hitting those people you said couldn't be hit this time round.
Yes, but as I say, they will have longer to adjust to that. As you mentioned, that the minimum wage, the tax thresholds would increase, and it gives people time to prepare to take on board the free childcare, etc. But doing it overnight would give people no chance to change their lives at all. And we have to support people through this change. And part of universal credit is having somebody with you helping, you know, discuss what things can we do. You know, can you look for extra work? What's the childcare situation? And being mentored, if you like, through that change.
Now, you said your colleagues reacted brilliantly. You seem to have made friends already with the Shadow Work and Pension Secretary. He mentioned you there in the interview. Is it a worry for you that you're being lauded by the other side?
Not at all. I'm not actually interested in being lauded by anybody. I just want good policy and I want to make the right decisions, and I don't care if they're red, purple, yellow, green or blue. I'm not interested in the colour. And, you know, it's funny, I heard one of your articles earlier in the programme about this new politics. That's what I want to see.
The gentler kind of politics?
Well, not even gentler, but just consensus. If you've got a cracking idea, let's do something with it. You know, I have no truck with, oh, the Labour were terrible, the Conservatives were terrible. Let's just, you know, we're in that building together to make things better. Let's shut up talking about the past and do it.
Right. I mean, it sounds great if it can actually be done after years, generations of much more combative politics yet to be seen. Do you have ambitions to go up the ministerial ladder? Do you think what you've done so far will make it more difficult?
I think, A, I never did, and B, I think you're absolutely right, it's going to be more difficult. But, you know, that's a great sense of freedom, because if I didn't come into this to clamber at that greasy pole, then it doesn't matter, because I'm free. And that's a fantastic feeling, so long as my party don't deselect me, of course.
Oh, well, you've neatly moved on to our next subject, Heidi Allen. Thank you very much. So, let's talk about the Labour Party. The former